The screen flickered, another perfect life flashing before Sarah's eyes. A sun-drenched vacation, a flawless meal with friends, a promotion at work. Each post a carefully curated glimpse into a world that felt increasingly distant from her own reality. By day, she navigated the demanding world of a high-pressure marketing job, her days a whirlwind of meetings, deadlines, and the constant hum of digital connection. By night, she retreated into the curated echo chamber of social media, scrolling through a feed of seemingly effortless success and happiness. But beneath the polished surface, a disquiet was growing. It was a subtle unease at first, a nagging sense that something was missing. A feeling that all this striving, all this success, was amounting to very little. The laughter with colleagues felt increasingly hollow, the validation of a like increasingly fleeting. A sense of isolation began to creep in. Even surrounded by hundreds of online friends, Sarah felt utterly alone. The pressure to maintain the perfect image, both online and offline, became a crushing weight. She was living in a world of carefully constructed facades, and the effort to keep her own from crumbling was exhausting her. Then there was the news about her mother's illness. It arrived like a sudden squall, tearing through the fragile equilibrium. She had tried so hard to maintain. The diagnosis was serious, the future uncertain. Suddenly, the carefully constructed world of career goals and social media updates seemed utterly meaningless in the face of this raw, visceral fear. Where was the perfect filter for this? Where was the right caption? The foundations of Sarah's life, built on the shifting sands of achievement and approval, began to crack. The news about her mother accelerated Sarah's descent. The carefully constructed walls around her began to crumble. Work, once a source of pride, became a relentless treadmill. Each demanding email, each impossible deadline, felt like another brick added to the wall closing in on her. Social media, once a refuge, became a torment. Every perfect post from someone else was a reminder of her own messy, imperfect reality. She tried to keep up the facade, posting carefully curated updates, but the effort was draining. Sleep became a battleground, her mind a relentless battlefield of worries. She would lie awake for hours, replaying conversations, agonizing over what others thought, and haunted by fears for her mother's health. During the day, anxiety gnawed at her. She lost her appetite, her focus, her ability to find joy in anything. Desperate, for relief she chased fleeting distractions, a whirlwind of shopping sprees, trying to fill the emptiness with things. Nights spent in crowded bars, seeking connection in the cacophony of noise and fleeting encounters. Empty promises of happiness that left her feeling even more hollow. The world narrowed, the vibrant colours of life fading into a muted grey. She was adrift, a small boat lost in a vast, indifferent ocean, with no land in sight, no compass to guide her. Then came the night when the bottom fell out. It wasn't a dramatic event, but a quiet implosion. Sarah found herself alone in her apartment, the silence amplifying the turmoil within. A text message from her brother with an update on her mother's condition was the final straw. The weight of it all, the fear, the loneliness, the overwhelming sense of being lost, crashed down upon her. She curled up on the floor, tears streaming down her face, a profound sense of despair washing over her. In the depths of this despair, a memory surfaced, unbidden. A faded image from her childhood. Her grandmother, a woman of quiet strength and deep faith, reading aloud from a worn Bible. Sarah remembered the feeling of peace that had filled the room, a sense of something solid and true amidst the uncertainties of life. It was a faint whisper, a tiny spark in the overwhelming darkness, but it was there. A question formed in her mind, a hesitant, almost forgotten plea. Is there something more? That night, Sarah didn't find immediate answers, but the question itself marked a shift. It was a crack in the dam, a tiny opening in the prison of her own making. The seed of a new desire had been planted, a desire for meaning, for hope, for something that could anchor her in the storm. The memory of her grandmother's faith led Sarah on a tentative exploration. She didn't know where to begin, but she started, with small steps. She found an online sermon, the voice of the pastor surprisingly gentle and relatable, speaking of a love that embraced brokenness and offered forgiveness. The words felt like a balm to her wounded spirit, a counterpoint to the harsh voices of self-criticism and the relentless pressure of the world. She began to read the Gospels. The figure of Jesus emerged from the pages, not as a distant, judgmental figure, but as someone who walked alongside the marginalized, who understood suffering, who offered compassion and unwavering love. The story of the woman at the well resonated deeply. A woman who, like Sarah, was seeking fulfillment in the wrong places, only to find true living water in an encounter with Jesus. The parable of the prodigal son spoke to her own sense of being lost and the longing for a home she had never truly known. Sarah was particularly struck by Jesus' words on the cross. "Father, forgive them." How could someone in so much pain, at the hands of those who were putting him to death, speak words of forgiveness? It was a radical idea, a love that defied all logic, and it challenged Sarah's understanding of the world. She found herself drawn to a small group of people who met weekly to study the Bible and support each other. She was nervous at first, intimidated by their seeming confidence and faith. But she found them to be surprisingly welcoming, a community of broken but hopeful individuals who were all on their own journeys of seeking and finding. They didn't judge her doubts, they listened to her questions and shared their own struggles. In their company, Sarah began to experience the first glimmers of a peace she had never known, a sense of being accepted not for what she did or achieved, but for who she was. The change in Sarah wasn't instantaneous or dramatic, but a gradual unfolding, like a flower slowly turning towards the sun. She still faced challenges. Her mother's illness remained a heavy burden, and the pressures of work didn't magically disappear. But she began to navigate these challenges with a newfound strength, a sense that she wasn't alone. The need for external validation began to loosen its grip. She still used social media, but with a different perspective, no longer seeking her worth in likes and comments, but using it more as a tool for connection and sharing her journey. Her work life, while still demanding, was infused with a greater sense of purpose, a desire to serve others rather than simply climb the corporate ladder. She found herself drawn to acts of service, volunteering at a local soup kitchen, offering a listening ear to a friend in need. These acts of love, mirroring the compassion she had seen in Jesus, filled her with a joy that the fleeting pleasures of her old life never could. Sarah's relationship with her mother deepened, infused with a new level of tenderness and gratitude. She found herself able to be present in the difficult moments, offering comfort and strength, drawing on the peace that she was discovering. Sarah's journey was not about finding a life free of pain or struggle, but about finding a life anchored in something greater than herself. It was about discovering that she was loved, not for what she did, but for who she was, and that this love gave her the courage to face the uncertainties of the future with hope and a resilient spirit. She had moved from the edge of despair to a place of grace, and the noise of the world had been replaced by the quiet, persistent whisper of hope.